everyone, and welcome back once again to another lesson with Bavco. Today, we're looking at data validation in Microsoft Excel. Now, when we talk of data validation is an essential Excel feature, okay, and that helps us to control or restrict user inputs entries in selected cells within a spreadsheet or within a workbook. And it also enables us to set a desired validation rules to control what we type or we enter into cells in our worksheets. Now, in today's lesson, we're going to use the data or the document that you've been using over the whole period or over the previous lessons. Now, this is the data set that we will use it. So let me give it a name. So let's say this is sales data. So this is sales data. Now with this data validation, okay, there are some essential tags that data validation uses or that we can set using this data validation. And some of them is that we can allow users, so let me type over here. So we can allow users to put in numeric or text entries only, right? Because we want to restrict what they type. And this is very important. So that also helps us in minimizing error when it comes to data entry into a database or a document, right? Now, the data validation can be found under the data tab on the ribbon, right? So data tab on the ribbon over here. So we go to data, then we can locate our data tools over here. Now, under the data tools, we have several of them. I think we've looked at one in our previous video, which is flash fill, as you can see over here. But today we are using the data validation. So you can see it over here. So right click on it. If you right click on it, you can see our data validation dialog box opens, right? So our data validation dialog box opens. Now, the data validation dialog box has three essential options or tabs, okay? So we have the settings, which is already open. We have our inputs, then we have our error alert, okay? Now with the setting, this is where we set a rule as to what we want our users or what we want to enter into a specific cell or a specific range of cell. So automatically you see that it's any value. When allow is any value, it means we can type anything into our cell, even it's numbers, numeric, alphanumeric, or anything into our cell. So we can click on the drop down list over here. We can select the kind of data we want to allow in a cell, right? So we can allow whole numbers, decimals, list, dates, time, text length, or custom, right? And the next one is the settings. The next one is the input message, right? Now the input message tab has a text box to enter message displayed as soon as the respective cell is being selected. So for example, immediately we select a specific cell, it gives information about what to enter into the cell, right? And that's what the input message also does. Now the error alert also comes with other specific options, so you can also change the style. Now the main or one thing that the error alert tab does is that whenever, let's say, we enter a wrong message or a wrong text into a cell which has a restriction, okay, the error alert or the error alert tab stops us, right? So when the style is stopped, it stops us from entering that value. However, we can also change it to warning or information. When it is warning, it gives us a warning, or it tells us that okay, what we are entering into the cell is wrong, right? And the information, maybe we enter something that is not what we specified it to give. It gives information about the right thing to do. Now, when we choose stop, you can go ahead and enter an error message that pops up when someone's enter a wrong input into the cell. So for example, if we are to enter text and you enter numbers, we can give you an error message that wrong inputs. Maybe this cell accepts only text, okay? So that's it also. Now we will go ahead and take some few examples in our data, right? So let's go back to our data. Now back to our data, the first thing we'll be doing is, so for example, we'll be looking at countries, right? So let's try using the country. Now for example, if I'm to enter, let's say, a new sales data, okay, a new sales record, a new sales input into our database, right? So I can first go ahead and type the code. So maybe it has a unique code, right? So maybe I know my unique code is maybe I, maybe this one is 108 1098. Now maybe the store is in Rome. So I know the store is in Rome. Now the country, right? Now with this country, what we want to do with the country column is that we want to generate a drop down list using our data validation. So drop down, instead of typing the country, we know the various countries, so we can just hit on a drop down and choose the country from it. So what we can do is we first go to our data tools, that's data under the ribbon, then go to data validation. However, okay, so let's do that one first. So this one pops up. So settings. So what do I want to enter? I want to enter lists, right? Now with the list, we can choose from a source, right? We can choose from a source, but first let's try and enter some countries. We first go through how we can get some lists that we want to choose from. Or better, as looking at country, we have several countries over the world. So that one, the best option would be to use lists, right? So you can generate a list of countries, then you can input their range over here. So maybe with the countries, maybe I have Italy, I have USA, I have Canada, I have Ghana, I have Ethiopia. All right. Now with the input message, right? So let's say name of country, okay, name of country, then the error alert. So with the error alert, we want to enter specifically only countries into, or to choose from that list. Okay, then the 4 lists that we created, right? So we stop you from entering it, then maybe the error message will be wrong input. So I can hit OK. You can see that immediately I hit OK, you can see this over here. So this immediately we select that specific, so we get this information telling us that okay, we have to enter the name of a country, of the country, right? You can see the drop down button over here. We click on it, we can see the list that we created over there, right? Then we can choose from it. All right, so let's say Rome is in Italy. All right, so we just created over here, so we can drop it down, all right, so that effect can also take if the data validation can take effects in other cells. So Rome, maybe I know it's in Italy, I can go ahead and select Italy. Right now, for example, over here, let's see we enter maybe something different from a country, so something which is not within the list that we created. So let's say I enter something like Africa. Immediately I hit enter, you can see wrong input. So this is where we get the error alert from. So this is the error alert, so you can retry. All right, then we can type, let's say we type Ghana, then this time we enter the correct item which is in our list, right, the list that we created. Okay, so back to our data. Now with this data, okay, this is the first one. With this data, I want to create a list. All right, so with this one, I've already have the list over here, so you can see this green tab, right? I have several lists over here. I have dates, I have cities, I have items and salespersons. So we are going to incorporate these to create drop down list in our data. So first we start with the country, right? Now one thing you also know is that all this while we've been going through data validation by going under the data ribbon. So under the data, tap on the ribbon and go into data tools, then we select data validation. However, you can also use the keyboard shortcut Alt DL, right? And the data validation dialog box pops up. So you keep that also in mind. At least it helps us to work faster around whatever we are doing, right? Now under our settings, we are creating a list of countries, and we already have the list over there. So I select list, and in the source, okay, I tap on this over here and I come to my list, then I select these countries, right? So I select the range of the countries. All right, so I now have my range over here. Now input message. All right, so I want to leave that one blank. Then the error message, the error alert is also very important to prompt the user that okay, this is a wrong input, so just choose from the drop down list. So maybe wrong, input, and I can go ahead and tell them to choose from the drop down list. Alright, then I can go ahead and hit OK. Immediately I hit OK, you can see my drop down list comes here. So immediately I click on it, I can see a whole list of countries over here. Right now, I can also do same for the dates. Alright, I can do same for the date. So let me delete these dates so that we can use data validation to generate new ones. So Alt DL, and I get my drop down list. Then list, I know I have the drop down lists. I have a list over here for the dates. So I select everything. Okay, then my error message is very important. So enter my error message. Wrong inputs. Then choose from the drop down list. Alright, so you can also see that one over here, so you don't have to worry yourself in typing the date. You can just come and choose over. However, if you want to go ahead and type our dates, you can also do that. Okay, so all this while we have only been dealing with the list. Okay, however, we can also use any of, so let me see, you can also use any of the various inputs that we can use. So for example, we have several of them. We have the whole numbers. Okay, so with the whole number, okay, so the whole number restricts users to enter only whole numbers. Okay, and once we set the whole numbers option, we get more options. We get more options relevant to limiting user inputs. Okay, and we can also go ahead and choose dates. You can also go ahead and choose this. So with this one also, it restricts users to enter values in the form of in dates form, right? And apart from that, anything that a user enters will be a wrong input or goes against the rules that we are setting for that cell. You can also go ahead and enter time. So, and with the time, it's almost identical to date. However, it restricts users to enter times. Okay, so we can set validations to allow time before, or let's say after a specific time, or between specific time ranges. So for instance, we can restrict cells to accept maybe time between, let's say, 8 p.m. to maybe 10 p.m. and in that order. Okay, thank you very much for watching, and see you in the next video.